So how do you guys know when to drop a girl? Like when you're dating a girl and she's like great and everything's good, but what are like some behaviors if a girl dated this or started behaving like this right in the beginning that you'd be like, actually no,
Let's go, Jonah.
This isn't wifey material.
I think when she becomes too difficult past a point where it becomes a severe detriment in your life, right? So she's taking more than she adds to your life. If she is not making your life easier in a way, better in a way via emotional support or whatever metric you really set in that relationship, she begins to take more than she really gives, and I think that's incredibly detrimental. Not even just in a relationship, but in any relationship. If you're constantly giving more than the person gives back, it feels like a bit of like a parasitic type relationship. And for me, I can't stand that one bit.
I like that. And the word parasitic, I think that's relates to a lot of the relationships people have these days. One is a massive giver and they attract a massive taker. And I agree. I think for me, when I know it's dead or the relationship's going nowhere, it's just when you don't really start to see the future with the girl. You know, she's done a lot of shit that's red flags. Or sometimes the interest just drops off. And sometimes it can drop off from the other side as well. You notice her interest is like almost dropped. But it can go the other way where your interest drops also. I only like to deal with girls if the interest is astronomical. As soon as the interest would drop to where they're just not messaging you all the time, they're a bit slower between texts. They're a bit more like, you know, you sense that they can sort of take it or leave it. Maybe they're going out, they're doing things without you and not really communicating as well. I would start to be like, yeah, it's gone to a shit place for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like, with going back to what Jonah said about how where she's starting to sort of take more than she gives, we operate under the assumption that a girl is matching our value in some way because we bring so much value that it's not something you want to just be giving away constantly. You want something back, whether that's, you know, a loving girl that makes you look good in public, whether that's you know, a girl who helps you with your business, something like that. We all have combinations of these, and as soon as a girl starts to sort of stand off that and not do her role, not fulfill her role in the relationship, that's probably when it's time to go, because it's when she starts thinking that, you know, she's got a place she can stop doing, you know, what she's meant to.
It's like when you have a girl. Some of these guys get like the mail order girl, the perfect girl from overseas, bring her over, and then they think that she's in the West, she's just going to be this perfect little angel. And then she gets on the Western diet, starts watching Western TV, and before they know it, they're sitting there with a planet that just has her feet up on the couch. Doesn't do absolutely anything.
Well, they just become corrupted by everyone around them.
Yeah, that's right. And now they actually almost like, when they're in that sort of relationship, they almost have like another child. Like the girl doesn't really add any value. And it's almost like they're responsible for this thing that's just in the house. And it might not barely even be cleaning up after itself. For me, that's a disaster. Like, that's just all downside now.
Do you think, like, I thought about this the other day. The thing with Eastern Europe is we walk around and I don't see that many overweight girls or chubby girls, like, walking around. Generally, girls are pretty healthy here and, like, they look after themselves and they go to the gym. I found that's way more common than like back in the West. And I was looking, I don't know, I got a notification from Facebook the other day. I never go on Facebook, but I opened it up and I saw like on the feed, it was like a girl that went to our like sister high school, and she was massive. Like she used to be hot, and she was like massive. She was so fat,
So
and I was like,
when you say feed.
Yeah.
You mean feet.
Yeah.
You mean well fed.
And she's posted like bikini pics on her Facebook thing. And
Still likes.
Yeah. Well, I kind of looked at
Thirst
it.
trap.
That is like disgusting. Like you used to be hot. Like you're 21 years of age.
Thirst trap turned into a grease trap.
Like how have you ruined it? How have you ruined it in such a short amount of time?
3-0 up.
Yeah, 3-0 up. They were
3-0 up, 90th.
But like you say, like there'd still be the guys in the inbox, you know, the guys that still just want to fuck and still gassing the girl up, hoping to get laid. You know, guys, I'm under the assumption that I don't hook up with fat girls, not because I think that they're, you know, not people, but I just wouldn't really associate with them much unless I had to.
I think they're not people.
Yeah, I think that with the thing, like, if you're entertaining them, you're encouraging that sort of behaviour, and it doesn't really do her any favours. You know, if no one really saw her as a sexual option or any sort of relationship option, didn't gas her up, she would have to change. Because now she's not getting a lot of attention. Whereas a lot of the guys would be like, oh, I would never do that. But then you'll see that they're still in her DMs. Like her DMs will still be flooded with guys that pretend that they want a relationship but really just want to smash. So then her value is very conflated. She doesn't really know where it's at.
Yeah, but then there's also, like, you got to look at the role of the man. Like, the only reason we allow that is because there's so many weak men that will go and give her attention. And so that's the only reason why. Like, if a girl was getting zero attention and she was fat, she realized there's something wrong. I need to sort of, you know, bring it back in and, you know, get to the gym, maybe look after myself a bit more, and maybe I'll get some more attention from guys. But even so, like, nowadays, guys are so low value that they'll just give attention to anything to fight.
And I've seen guys where they've got heaps of money. You know, they might be a performer, they might be an actor or rapper or something like that. And they'll still hit these, like, big girls up. You know, it doesn't matter just because some guys have money. They still, I wouldn't consider them high value. I think to be high value, I think money it's you have to have money to support that sort of lifestyle, but you don't need an astronomical amount of money. I think you do need the rest, though, that makes up the rest of kind of like a tree, like the skill tree that you need to be high value. So yeah, I think I understand why some of these girls have the unrealistic sort of view of themselves. And then in the West, it's almost like sexual inflation because 30 or 40% of the girls are obese, whereas you come here and maybe 10% are fat. So that changes the metrics quite a lot.
Absolutely. I know we've all experienced it. Like, you go on these, like, even dating apps. Dating apps is the perfect place to kind of really see it firsthand because everyone there is openly looking to date, right? It's not like you find them in the shops or something. And, you know, these girls on these dating apps, they're all girls that, you know, they might be a normal 5'6", but because the market is so, like you said, inflated with men, thirsty men looking to go out there and weak men looking to go out there and just get a hookup or whatever. It's something like there's like 5 or 6 times more men on dating apps than there are women. Yeah. So that pushes all the 5s and 6s up to fucking 7 and 8s. And everyone goes up from there and they just become way harder to get.
And so many men are cheating their value because men use, like, you know, the image editors and all that sort of shit too. So it's like, you know, women use it as well, but then the soft men use it as well, like the soft boys that try to get like an unfair advantage. So a lot of that sort of dishonesty in dating is part of the problem. Like people don't just, instead of just say, here I am, you know, maybe I'm not perfect, maybe I'm a 5 out of 10, but you know, now I can improve. People try to pretend to get a shit deal, like a deal that they don't qualify for. I find that with guys now, and I was talking to a friend of mine about that. I see a lot of guys in general sort of using religion, I think, now as a way to get like a traditional girl. Like they'll say that they're, you know, very heavily religious, so now this woman has to be compliant. Like if she's to be in his life, you know, I'm this religion and that. And I think in a way it's to get what they don't qualify for. I know some people are, you know, very serious about it, but then I'll see like in the red pill space some of these nerds that sort of like, you know, will scream haram and all this sort of crap, and then they don't even live even like a marginal life. Like, you know, that sort of like, guys will say, you know, that I'm a strict whatever, and then not follow that at all, but then expect that they'll have some like submissive woman now because of that. So I think it's just another strategy to get something that they don't qualify for, like off the jump.
Yep.
Well, the important thing is like not to get upset with women. Like, it's not, I would argue that it's not women's fault that they're going down this path. I would argue that it's soft men's fault. Because going back to that point, if soft men didn't give those women attention, the ones that were becoming overweight and being aggressive or being bad in relationships, if they weren't getting attention from soft men, they would feel like something was wrong and they would have to go back into, you know, sort of more traditional standards. So I would say, like, I would argue that it's soft men's fault for inflating the sort of
the marketplace with attention. So attention doesn't really have value anymore because she can get attention from someone whose attention matters a lot, yes, but she can also get attention from 100 low value guys, and maybe that attention becomes as valuable as another guy who is important to attention.
One thing.
When did men start fucking up? Like, at one point in like history, was like, if you look at it, like in that point, you're like, okay, we fucked up there, and then it was just it.
Yeah.
Like it was just downhill from there.
To me, it's when like shame sort of got removed. Like, you know, when I was younger, you could, if you're overweight or if you were out of shape or if you were like, you know, genuinely weak, people could just say, you know, like you'd get guys come up to you and be like, you know, fat ass or something like that. I was a fat kid, so I used to get that as well. You know, or you were soft and kids would just be like, you know, I'll beat the shit out of you when they can. You know, there was a lot less of that sort of PC policing of like sort of socially. You know, bullying was the thing. I know bullying now, they say that, you know, it's much less, that it doesn't exist. But I actually think that's much worse for men, because men never really know like where they stand. Bullying is necessary to be great. Like, you know, a lot of the guys who become great, you'll realize, like, you know, they're either bullied, they went through some like really hard times at the gym, fighting, something like that, that you get bullied, right? Like you get taught where you stand, and either the sand gets kicked in your face and you're either going to fight back, or you're going to be like, all right, well, I'm like a worm sort of person, and that's that. Whereas now that's sort of been deleted from society, and now a lot of the people grow into old age not knowing like where they stand.
Well, I say to him all the time, like, bring back bullying. Bullying is important, I think, especially for young
Especially
men.
for men.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, a good friend of ours who's a fighter said that most fighters aren't like tough guys. They were people who got bullied, and then they wanted to become, you know, good at defending themselves and stuff like that, to you know, to make themselves feel more confident because they got bullied. And I'm not saying like physical bullying is a good thing, but definitely like we used to, you know, if you had I think we were the last sort of generation before it died off, because we used to like make fun of like our fat mates all the time, and it's like, if without that they think everything's okay.
He's skinny now, by the way,
Yeah, there you go.
and now he fights. So,
Yeah, so
he
helped
he actually
him
said to
progress.
us that bullying helped him.
Yeah, I've had that a lot. I've had people that I've picked on that have come around later. Not picked on to... I think bullying is important as long as it's positive. Like,
Yeah.
you're giving them an avenue to change, not if you're just grinding them down all the time until they're pretty much like suicidal. Because you can do that.
Yeah.
If you're completely powerful and the person's powerless, you can really grind them every day down to be nothing. But if you grind them a bit and then you lay off, and then that's sort of how, like, you know, it's like fertilizing a plant, and then it can grow. But if you're constantly on their back, maybe they can't change. But
It's like tearing a muscle.
yeah, it's like like going to the gym, right?
Yeah, and I'm talking about bullying your friends over like over something, you know, such as being overweight.
But even shame
there's a
was a thing.
difference.
Yeah, even shame was a thing, though. It all sort of comes back to that. Like, people are pretty shameless now. Like, they can walk around obese, especially in the West, walk around obese. Girls can run around telling everyone how many guys they fucked. Girls are like, you know, just generally... I've been out in Warsaw, like with you guys, many times. We've probably been, you know, into the club dozens of times, and I've never seen a girl twerking here. If I was to go to any club in like Gold Coast or Brisbane, I would see at least one or two girls twerking.
Oh,
you
at
know,
least.
or more, like, you know,
Yeah.
girls getting on the tables and like dancing like hoes and things like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen here. But then here, if they do that, like, I imagine that one of the girls' friends would be like, I'm pretty embarrassed with this
Yeah.
girl. Like, I don't want to be seen with her. Whereas in the West, I think, again, it's just attention. You know, attention is just the biggest currency, but it doesn't matter what attention they get. Because then there's always some guy, right? Some thirsty guy that'll be like, oh, yeah, I just want to fuck her. So I'm going to tell her how great she is.
So
If you guys were dating a girl and she was that girl twerking at the club without you guys, how would you guys react?
it's a simple enough
Yeah,
reaction.
that's
Well, for
simple
starters,
enough.
she's not going to be at the club.
Yeah,
My
we-
girl's not going to be at the club
We would
without
never
me.
take a girl like that seriously in the first place.
So she's not going to be there.
Yeah, I would expect
But
that.
hypothetically, if I was this loser with my girlfriend, sat at home, I was sat at home and she was out at the club twerking, I would strongly advise him to reconsider what he values in that relationship.
And the thing is, it's his fault. It's his fault that bitch is out there twerking. He either picked wrong, he didn't have his frame in place, something along those lines. He's not of value enough to attract a girl who respects him. So it's his fault. I have no sympathy for guys who, you know, they have a girl and she goes out and does that and they get upset about it. It's
But
your fault.
how do you go with frame? Because that's to me, I've met probably thousands of guys now, and I think that rich guys that I know, poor guys, I think frame is the ultimate thing that guys struggle with. To me, frame is boundaries. What's acceptable and what's not, how you carry yourself, what you'll put up with, what you'll remove your attention away from, what you'll give your attention to. To me, that's the ultimate, and to me, that's the hardest thing with guys. I think if guys were honest with themselves, why they like one night stands and like, you know, being fuckboys and things like that, is because it's easy to pretend to be like the dominant sexual guy one time, you know, it's a fling, it's this guy, and then it starts like she doesn't start to do shit that he wants, so he sort of pulls back and goes, oh, I just wanted to smash, that's it. Because it's very hard now to put the boundaries in place and to set the frame. And how do you find that with guys? Because I know that for me, what I see with guys, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate if you want a relationship. You know, if you just want a one night stand, maybe it's not so important. But because the mask falls off, right? If you're with a girl for one night, maybe you can sort of pretend to be this guy, and then if you're with her for a few weeks or months, the mask starts to fall off because women test, right?
100%. And frame starts from the beginning. So, you know, as soon as you make contact with the girl for the first time, that's when frame starts. So as you said, like the mask falls off over time. The longer time period you're with the girl, the less, you know, the more she's going to know who you actually are. So
Especially because they're very perceptive.
yeah, you can't fake it. You actually have to be that man that you say that you are. And that comes from you know, as a man doing what you should do, first of all, and becoming proficient in the areas you should be proficient in, so that when you go and get, you know, a girl, it's not faking. And as you said, over time, they're going to find out anyway. So that's why, you know, a lot of those guys that run the fuckboy game where they just, you know, they have girl after girl after girl and they don't care, just keep moving on.
They do care.
Yeah,
they just can't keep it, right?
They play a character, essentially, to get the smash, but you're not getting anything out of it. And
That's right.
anyone who's actually done that knows how boring and time wasting it is after a while. You know, maybe we did it when we were like 18 and it was like, yeah, boom, you know, girl after girl. And it was, I don't know, maybe like 4, 5, 6 months, and then you just go, fuck, this sucks, like I'm so sick of this. And it's because you're getting no value, you're not getting anything from it. You just, like, once you fucked some, you know, once you fuck 10 girls, it's like, it's just the same thing over and over again. It's like, now I'm going to actually look for value. And, you know, it might be harder to find in the West. You need to go through 10, 20, 30 girls before you find like one good one that you should lock down. But now we do it with the goal that we're, you know, getting a long-term partner, and we're curating like a long-term partner for something where we get value back and we're not just, you know, emptying our fucking balls.
Yeah, it's like a reason why so many people are just broke in their 20s and their teenage years and even to their late 30s. It's because, like, I remember moving to Vegas for 30 days and just focusing on picking up girls, right? Like, every single day, just going out till, like, 6 a.m. every single day, trying to go ahead and try to find someone that would, like me. And in those 30 days, like, I can't remember how much energy I lost. My business just completely died. And to think that, like, every single time I would go back to Vegas, I would see the same guys that were still kind of like running around doing their little tricks to go ahead and try to get girls to be attracted to them. And they never really excelled in any other aspect of their life. Like, they never made more money. They never got in a better shape. If anything, their bodies looked worse because they're just staying up till 6 a.m. every single day, always around like degeneration. And many of these guys, like, 10 years would go by and they had nothing to show for it. Like, no more money. Like, they don't even have, you know, a good relationship at the end of all this. And it was just like a huge waste of time.
Yeah, I found with a lot of those like PUA guys, or guys that call themselves that, I guess in the red pill space, there's a lot of guys that call themselves that too. I find that it's just really a space full of nerds, you know, so they have created a business to teach other nerds that, you know, how to talk to women. And their approach is to just spam approach a zillion women, you know, and of course, if you run around and talk to hundreds of women, ultimately one will say yes, you know, but that's very low value because you're essentially trading your time, which is meant to be valuable, with someone whose time probably is worth fuck all. You know, sometimes guys will run around the girls like a cash register on $5 an hour, like she works in retail. Her time doesn't really matter. Mine, ours can be hundreds or thousands of dollars an hour. So I find that the value exchange isn't there from that point of view. And then these guys obviously realize that, so then they try to monetize so that they can stay there. It's like guys who go to like a holiday destination and then they realize like, oh, I really want to stay here. Like I want to stay in this spot. So then they find a way to monetize it just to stay there, but they're still staying in the dream. It's encouraging them not to grow up, and it's nothing long term. Like it's nothing that it's going to work out good. It's like the guy who tries to stay at schoolies when he's 50. It's not going to like work out, and then he runs around telling you how many numbers he got. Like, at what age does that get sad? That everyone needs to know when their time's done. Like the fuckboy game, maybe it works in your 20s or whatever, but everyone needs to know like when you got to hang up the boots and get a bit more serious about life. Time does beat everyone, and at some point, a lot of that, like chasing women, the ROI is not there, versus having like one good girl, or maybe you've got a few girls that you see and you're not really super serious, but they might know about each other and they don't really mind, But running around the one night stands endlessly, I find that pretty low value. And the guys, I think in general, are starting to realize that. I think the days of the fuckboy going around bullshitting to girls is pretty much over, because everyone has the resume of Instagram now. And I can go on someone's Instagram and I can see their network of people they know. So I can see if they're LARPing as someone they're not. Because if I see all the people that they're following and they're no one that I know, I'll be like, well, how's this guy like anyone fucking important? Like in a city, if he doesn't know a single person that I know, like even here.
Even though that's the case, right? So we know people that have like similar connections. So we know like, oh, this is a respectable person. Yeah, like this weekend we had a multimillionaire friend just had a huge problem with a girl, and he just was like brokenhearted, and he didn't know exactly how to go ahead and like survive it, right? So even though there are like some guys on other people's social medias to see if they're respectable people, they could be respectable in business, but how come when it comes to relationships, even people with millions of dollars can't even understand how to develop a relationship, and why are they so at weakness to just a pretty girl?
Well, so firstly, it comes down to like we've drummed on the importance of setting frame quite a lot already, but not a lot of people, especially in the West, really know how to set a frame properly, know how to actually set boundaries. Now, if you set boundaries, you're deemed a misogynist or controlling, or insert adjective here that is negative. And like even if I were to say I don't want my girl going to the club without me, I'm considered controlling and narcissistic, and everything under the sun that could be negative. These women, and this a lot of these multimillionaires don't know how to one, set frame correctly, and two, enforce it, because they're ultimately too scared of probably losing that girl. They think, oh, this is the best I could ever do, and they're stuck kind of in that scarcity mindset of, oh fuck, I'll never find a better girl than this. Brother, go to wherever your type is. White girls, Europe, Eastern Europe, Asian girls, Asia, Latinas, South America. Go pluck one out of the village and take her.
But then even if they bring the village girl back, their frame's so terrible that over like 6 months after that, she'll eventually be treating her exactly like that last girl that they had. It's like anything, right? Like you train people how to teach you. Like you teach people how to speak to you. Like you're training people all the time how to interact with you. So when they have zero frame, and what I notice is guys like that, like millionaires, whatever, it's not so much that, they have no frame with the woman or whatever, but they also don't even have frame of anyone around them. Like, so then they'll introduce her to their friends and be like, this is my brother that I've known for fucking 6 years. And then the guy's hitting on her when she goes to the toilet. Like the guy's hitting on her when he goes to the toilet. The guy's trying to add her on Instagram. He's liking her shit straight away. And then he doesn't even know how to like enforce that. So often it's a frame has fallen apart on every spectrum. And his friends have no frame either, and they're like thirsty guys too. And once a woman, generally I find, learns how to treat you by seeing how other people treat you. She learns if you're valuable or you're like, LARPing or whatever. Because when it's just you and her, it's kind of easy. It's a woman. Like, you can be the dominant guy and all this sort of shit. I mean, it's a woman. It's not really that difficult. But then when she sees you around your guy friends, she sees you around, employees or your boss or anyone, and she realizes like, this guy's just not a respected man. I think that's when
she goes, like her interest creators, because now it's undeniable, because now it's proven by everyone, and it's not just that she's disrespected by it. It's women value men that other men value. I would say they look to the men. I think that women, of course, will find, oh, this guy's sexy between each other. Like the girls talk and be like, this guy's sexy, it gets them a bit interested. But I think the men confirm it. The men confirm who's high value and who's not.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with most men, even millionaires, is they just don't have anyone to hold them accountable. They're around people that are constantly saying yes, and they're like, oh, wow, you're so rich. And then they're not giving them actually direct feedback, when I think the thing that makes all of us valuable for each other is like, if one of us is slacking, we'll be like, yo, you're slacking. And I think it's like very important to actually find that crew or find people to hold you accountable, because like even this millions of dollars, one girl he's like fallen in love with, saying, oh, she's an amazing girl, and back like behind the scenes she's like sliding into Ethan's DM, right, and saying like, hey, and photoshopping things to kind of like get him in trouble when he's not actually doing it. And literally to be in the middle of a podcast and for him to realize it and then just like break up with her, and then him kind of being very, very sad about it, but then us kind of like consolidating the fact that no, you actually made the right decision, when most millionaires, even though they're really good at making money, they're so weak when it comes to even just leading a relationship. And that's why it's like you see so many women, get angry as they get older, because they found a guy that they thought was actually successful and alpha and be able to protect and provide, but yet as the relationship keeps on progressing in life, he just becomes weak, and the woman has no other like really option but to actually start leading, because if she's not being led by a man, then she's not going to feel safe, and if she's not going to feel safe, then she'll start freaking out.
Yeah, I disagree. I agree completely with that. And I don't disagree either with the concept that women, if they don't have a masculine figure, will assume masculine role. They have to, right? Like if you're with a guy, and you were a girl, and you're with a guy, and you don't really feel that safe, you don't really feel like he's like leading, like it's quite dangerous, right? Like he's not taking control. You don't trust his judgment. Maybe he has like really bad judgment in the household. And it would be irresponsible for her to be like, yeah, I'm just going to let him make all the decisions when he has a proven competency. So I do understand a lot of why women assume more of a masculine role in some relationships. And I don't actually think it's a terrible idea. I think that if they were following some of these like soy boys, they probably, that game Lemmings, they'd probably just walk off a cliff. They can't. You can't just, a lot of guys now, it's like they try to get a shit deal from women. You can't just like, expect that a woman's just going to, be in your frame and listen to you and do all these things unless you qualify for that. I'm very much a guy that thinks people should only ever get in life what they qualify for. No one should ever get a shit deal off another person, And a lot of people now, they're taught to try and put people in bad deals. But again, the more you become valuable, the harder you probably are to put in a bad deal, because you're very aware of your value. And not only that, you're very aware of the network of people around you that are valuable. So you don't want people to infiltrate that are fucking like, essentially like retards, because it brings the whole social value down. It's like anything, like, all four of us could be walking around the club and there could be one extra person that we bring, and he's just acting like a doofus, he's acting like a goofball, he insults the staff, he gets aggressive, maybe he like scares the girls in some way, and now it's detracted from the whole group because you've essentially like signed off on this guy. And that's, I think that's a big part of what happens with social perception, is kind of like a reality.
There's a lot of millionaires that we met this weekend, right? And they saw just kind of like the room and our relationship dynamics and all these things, and they wanted parts of that. Why do you think we were able to go ahead and find each other? Like what allowed us to go ahead and get very sticky with each other when we just met, compared to other people who maybe have more money or more other things, but they just wouldn't fit the dynamics? What was it, maybe values-wise, or the things that we had that actually got us to want to team up and work together and actually build together instead of kind of like doing this individually?
Well, I'll loop back to, first of all, what you were saying about millionaires, even though they have a bunch of money, not being able to be held accountable for their lack of, let's say professionalism in other areas. So that loops back to us as a group, because we're all good at different things. We've all taught each other different things about our specialty. We've sort of lifted each other up, in our different specialties. Those men usually don't have a group like that. They don't have anyone around them like that. They're the rich guy with the money. They think, yeah, sweet, I've made it. I have a bunch of money, but money's just an amplifier. So if you're a loser, you can't get any girls before the money. Having a bunch of money is not going to help you anymore. getting girls. It's the having a fucking Porsche and a nice apartment and a nice watch is only gonna take you so far. Like, if you can't actually attract a girl, you're not gonna get any girls, even if you've got money. So, and I truly believe that getting girls and having good relationships with girls is something that's learnable. Like, would you say it's something that's learnable? Because you don't know till you know. We weren't born good at it. Like, we weren't born experts and knew what to do off the bat. We learnt through basically years of trial and error. So we learnt one way, and these guys don't have a group around them to learn from. So if they place themselves, as our friends that came to Warsaw, they placed themselves in our group. How much did they learn in one weekend about relationships, about money from you guys, about content, about everything? They left and they went, holy shit, like, why am I doing this by myself? I need like a crew.
Yeah, I think the problem with millionaires is they only surround themselves around people that have more money, so they constantly optimize to just make more money. But many of the times in these events, the people that have more money don't necessarily have any other aspects of their life better. Like, they don't have good relationships. They're not like really in the best shape of their life. And they just constantly chase this money and then find out they're in their 50s and 60s, hundreds of millions, but then they have like nothing to show for it or nobody to share it with, right? And I know for me, like, specifically what I wanted someone 10 years older than me that made more money than me. And then you literally came out of nowhere. And I was like, I want to spend more time with guys that also make money and have the relationship dynamics really, really on point. And then I met you guys. And it was actually really crazy because it's like, there's something that we want from each other. And ultimately, like you said this before, it's like we become kind of like the superhuman because maybe one person has some type of weaknesses, but together we kind of are able to cover each one's weaknesses. So overall, we're just like a strong unit.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I noticed with millionaires too, I think part of their issue is they only really have money and then they're around people that have money. So the women around them are only like guys that have, like, they only see the money. That's really all they see. So like Ethan said, they're the girl in the Porsche, but they only want the photo in the Porsche. If he wasn't there, she'd be happier driving the Porsche without him. I think that, yeah, so with us, we're all very different. So we don't compete with each other in things. The women that like Ethan or a woman that likes Ethan wouldn't really like me. I'm very different. And it would be the same probably for all of us. So I think that's very good too. And I think with guys and the millionaires or whatever, in this millionaire space, they go to an event and it's just money men. It's just I have money, and then the women are there and they're like, oh, but this guy's got more money. So that's really all they have. So it kind of becomes a dick measuring contest for just whoever has the biggest income, and the woman there, I guess if she doesn't really respect his frame, she's just going to use it as a networking event to monkey branch. And a lot of the other guys don't respect. See, to have a good frame too, you have to respect the frame of other men. You can't just have this super frame yourself and then disrespect everyone that's like, within your circle. You can't just like be talking to their girls and things like that, because then it actually makes you look bad. They don't realize that. They think that, if they're talking to friends' girls like disrespectfully or whatever, that it makes them look good, or it gets me in. It actually just detonates the whole group's like credibility to women, because they're like, none of these guys have frame, because why isn't he pulling his friend up? Like, this is inappropriate. So it just diminishes everything. It craters it all. That's my view.
Well, I think as well, like, to add on to that, like, the importance of these men having frame, like, they surround themselves and network very well with other men who have a lot of money, right? But very, very rarely, we see that these men who have lots of money and are successful, they don't surround themselves with their other aspects, whether that be fitness or women. They don't really, they kind of put all their skill points into money and invest everything into making more money, which isn't, it's not really like sustainable in a long-term strategy if you want a balanced and enjoyable life, which is why, when we kind of surrounded ourselves with our group and our crew, we've got experts in all fields that we can all, learn from and ask questions. We all kind of bring everyone's collective value up into that, like you guys have said, the superhero.
Why don't people have a crew? Like now that I've met you guys, I'm like, this is so much easier now. Like, what the heck was I doing just by myself years ago when I was just like, I'm gonna do this by myself. I'm gonna be the coolest person. I'm gonna make the most money in my friend group. I'm gonna like have the best relationship. I wanted to be the best at everything, and I thought that was gonna be like the easiest thing, but it wasn't. And then I found that there was like other people out there that were better than me in so many other things. And I'm like, why didn't I not do this sooner? So why do you guys think that you guys personally haven't done this sooner? And why do you think most guys are like not trying to do something like this? Because when we meet people, they're like, oh, I want what you guys have. And literally anybody could do what we did, right? Anyone could go ahead and pick a city, plant their flags, and just like start conquering. Why aren't most people actually taking initiative when they can? And we didn't really do anything special.
I think there's a stigma around being a lone wolf, and like that it's like, yeah, I'm gonna sit in my room for 6 months, I'm gonna work my ass off, and I'm gonna come out with all this money, and you know, once I have all the money, I'm gonna get all these girls and all like, and that's how life's gonna go. But what people don't realize is that being a lone wolf makes it so much harder. Like, a lot of our money's has been made through the connections that we've made. A lot of our money has been made through, you know, meeting people who have way more money than us, and then them giving us suggestions or tips or stuff like that. And it's the only way you learn. It's like, as much as, you know, you want to say everything's available out there on the internet, it's still a bit of a, you know, a men's club. Like, getting into those circles where those high value people hang out, that's where you're going to get like the true information that you actually need, that is going to make you lots of money, rather than just sitting in your home by yourself trying to work everything out on the internet. Like, connections are so much more important than people think, and they get that mindset that I'm going to be a lone wolf and I'm going to do this and this and this, and then I'll get girls, and then I'll get this, and then my life will be great. But then you get out, you've got all this money, where do I go? What do? I don't have friends to travel with. I don't have people to go do fun stuff with. It's like, now I can kind of, you know, I've got the money. What do I do now? And we find that everyone who's already got the money now looks at our crew and goes, like, damn, I just want a crew. Like, oh, what am I doing now? Like, why am I doing this all alone?
Yeah, for me, I've known for probably 10 years that everyone does better in a crew. Like, men in general do better in a group, at least a small group. But I think with men now, to be in a crew, you have to be a friend. And it's not just something that you're just fucking born with. A lot of guys think that they just like automatically have all the traits to be a friend. And a friend means you have to add value. It's not the friend that just wants to sit around and play FIFA, you know, non-stop, calls you over to play games or just like hang out. You have to be a value adder. And that can be added in many ways. You know, it doesn't mean that you need to be a multi-millionaire. It just means, you know, that you're creative and that you see things that are lacking in your friends and you offer to add value. It's not just, you know, something. I think in school people get taught that they're like just automatically pushed together, like they have to hang out now in school. You don't have to add value to go to class and talk to people. Like, everyone has no value there. They're just there to learn, so you're pushed together. But now, you know, once you leave school or once you leave college, and once you leave a workplace, you're not really pushed together anymore. So it's really like getting chucked in the deep end. And if you haven't learnt those traits, or you aren't exposed to that network, or you don't have like the means to meet men that you want to meet, or the value, because yeah, it's when you've got a crew, like, you know, you're very careful who you include. Like with us, I know that we would be very careful to just introduce new people. You know, it's the part of the crew's strength is exclusivity. It's not really, if it's just for everyone, then it's really for no one. That's what I think.
I think as well, when you get, when you come out of like high school or college or university or something like that, I think, you know, the way that society's set up now is it's kind of set up to separate men from banding together. I feel, and I think we can all agree, is, you know, when you're with when you're out there and you're with your boys and, you know, the energy's flowing, you can kind of feel something. Like, it feels very like electric almost, and that can be in a multitude of different circles. But the society now is incentivized to split men up and people up from grouping together, to kind of just push people into doing normal roles, filling, you know, joining the rat race, putting them into the system, getting in the just another cog in the machine ultimately. And if you're able to, you know, break out of that system and find a group of men or find a crew you're able to, you know, connect well with and get along with, you can really elevate your life and those around you in that crew. We all bring each other up. And yeah.
How do you find that crew in today's world? It's almost impossible to find them in real life. Let's be honest.
It's hard to fit if you find them to join because they're just going to be like, who the fuck is this random? Get away.
How often have you ever come across someone in real life walking the streets, like through your job, through sport, or through something like that? How often have you come across someone who you're like, yeah, this person is on the same page as me, and they're ambitious, they're driven, they want to live the same life as me? That like never happens.
Not usually, or it's in one field. Like you go to a fight gym and someone's like, I just want to fight.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
But you're like, but what about money and all these other things? And they're like, I just want to fight. Or you go to work or employment, and that's all they want to focus on, money. But then the rest, you're like, but we want to not have to work so that we can still go out and enjoy all these trips. Like go to Marbella, we want to go Dubai, we want to go to Prague, we want to do all these things. We don't just want to like be locked in one specific location. So what do you think, Mike?
I think one thing that got us closer is when we actually punched each other in the face. Right? Like I remember fighting you, and the moment we fought, I was like, damn, I definitely feel closer to Ethan. I remember when we fought in Prague, and I was like, damn, Jonah's a little scrapper, right? And I remember when we fought in like Mexico, I was like, damn, who's this tattooed guy? He's gonna go out and attack me. And I don't know, it's very interesting when you fight with each other. There's like this shared trust. I don't know what it is. I mean, like even if you, for example, men and women, if they go out and practice BDSM, there is some like bond that happens when like men and women practice BDSM. I don't know, maybe like the modern day golfing is now just going to be boxing or fighting, because every single person that I've ever fought that had the potential to actually hurt me and I hurt the other person, you kind of already know exactly what they're made out of. Like I remember when we first punched each other in the face, or we first punched each other in the face, or we fought, like in all of these places, there was a genuine primitive like bond that you can't really get because we got matching sports jackets in like rugby or football, right? Like there was something much deeper and much primitive when we actually got into some type of violent act like with each other.
Yeah, I agree. You can't. To me, you can't have a crew if no one can fight. Like if something happens, you can't be a crew. Like I learned this in jail, but you can't be a crew if, like if one person's in a fight, everyone fights. There's no one like there's no one-on-one garbage. That's fucking in a gym. That's not on the street, because weapons get pulled out and things happen. People die. So it's
Fight first.
you can't just be like something happens and you're just like, I don't want to get involved. Like you have to be involved now, and that's the good thing with Mike. Like Mike said, with BDSM, it's an interesting topic, but it's much the same. Like you're showing power, but also restraint. So you're showing that you can be forceful and you can be like almost like sadistic to a degree, but it's controlled because it's your girl and she's like consenting, whatever. But you're still showing power, but you're also showing that you have it under control. It's the same with the gym. Like when you go and spar, some person gets knocked down, but you don't just keep getting on them and try and kill them.
No.
So to a point, they come to trust you. I think that's part of it.
Some of the most successful long-term relationships that I've ever seen between men and women, right? Like I'm talking about like a year or 2 years, but maybe like 5-10 years. For some reason, every single time that I ask questions, because I like asking people who are just like way older that have built like long-term relationships that are essentially good. For some reason, kind of like behind the scenes, many of them were practicing BDSM. So why do you guys think BDSM is kind of like the secret for a long-term relationship? Now that the alcohol is boring.
How many are we in? 2. What about 10?
We'll get there.
10 will be bringing out the tools. He'll swing in.
So this is my belt.
Call this one.
Yeah.
I think the importance of like BDSM, like if it's like we said before, it's that physical altercation, right? It spikes your adrenaline in your brain. Everyone has something on the line. Like it feels like you said, primitive, right? Now whether it's BDSM or sparring or something like that, it really brings both people closer together. And when you have something on the line, people respect you more because you're putting the skin in the game. If you're looking to level up in some sort of way and you go to a fight gym and everyone there's a fighter and they all want to be better fighters, that's where you'd go, right? If you want to be a really good fighter. If you want to be really good in, I don't know, any type of online niche, whether it's copywriting, drop shipping, marketing, finding a crew, getting better with girls or something like that, in this day and age, the most efficient way to do it is get some skin in the game and find an online community that is situated around that with people that are verifiable and have receipts in that area, right? That is what we did. we all kind of came together and joined a similar online community or communities, and we ultimately found each other, and then here we are now.
What sort of receipts do you look for? Because I know a lot of guys, the average guy probably doesn't know so much what sort of things to look for. He sees the guy with the Lambo photo on the thing, and he thinks, yep, this is the guy to follow, the scrawny millionaire.
It really depends what you want to get better at.
If you want to get better at community, so you want to get better at everything.
If you want to get better at everything, then you're going to look for
and
a
also
community.
find a network.
Yeah, well, you're going to look for a community that has someone who's, or multiple people who are good in different areas. Because let's say, we have a Deca millionaire here. He knows about money.
I know about money and investing.
Obviously.
Specifically, yes.
Obviously. So, and then you've got people who are,
experts at women.
Good at relationships.
Yep.
Then you're going to actually... I see heaps of dudes on Twitter and stuff promoting or shilling their fucking course or their ebook on dating girls, and it's this is how you get girls, and this is how, and then I've never ever seen a receipt of them with a hot girl ever. I've never seen a photo. I've never seen any
it's all paid
evidence.
Promotion or models around them, but it's all staged.
Yeah, it's all staged. I've never seen any
can't
evidence
bring
of
two
them
girls to the
actually, locking down a girl and having her having a girlfriend that gives them value. Sometimes you hardly ever see that. So we have receipts.
Yeah.
If someone can actually prove that they have something, and you can verify that they have something, and you want to get better in that area, learn from them. You're an expert at this. How much have you spent on learning from other people who are professionals in?
Probably last year I spent over 6 figures.
And now you're an expert yourself, though. Marketing, sales, content.
Well, many of it was just to I remember when I was in Bali, and I was okay, my money was increasing, everything was good, right? All aspects of my life was great, but the problem is compared to everybody else, I was kind of on top, so I wasn't growing, right? If everyone else is in the room saying, oh, you're so cool, you're never gonna actually want to go ahead and grow. So I generally remember writing down exactly who I wanted to be with. I was okay, my biggest problem is every single person that was wealthy had horrible relationships, right? And every single person that had really good relationships, they were not wealthy. So I could never really take their advice actually specifically that. I had to take with a grain of salt because they didn't have the results that I wanted. And I remember writing it down. It's I want to be surrounded by guys that not only made money but had good relationships. And when I started thinking that, I was okay, well, maybe they have that same point too. And then I started realizing, okay, where do they actually go ahead and hang out? And I'm if someone has the time to take 3 or 4 days to go to some crazy event, it doesn't even have to be a crazy event, but they just have time to go ahead and sacrifice 3 or 4 days of their life, and say the ticket is $5,000 or $10,000, right? I know that the people that I would meet are essentially like me, and they just think everyone else is crazy, and they want to find other people like us, right? I think that's why most people don't understand that when it comes to events, masterminds, all these things, that price is a big thing. I would never want to go ahead and join a mastermind that's $50 because literally anybody could go and do it.
It would be a mini mind.
It would be a mini mind, right? I generally want to go ahead and find the most expensive thing, because I know that with more money comes less access, and with less access comes really high quality vetted people. And that's literally what I did last year. I almost kind of Googled the most expensive masterminds and events that I could go to. And one by one, I just kept on going. More and more money, I just kept on spending. People are so afraid to spend money. They're oh, I'm afraid to spend $100 or $1,000 on a course. But then they don't think that actually it's not necessarily the thing that's in the course that matters, or the thing that's the event that matters. There are other people that can spend 10 grand and 50 grand and they'll show up here. And that's how I found you, right? And that's what people don't think. People think, oh, I don't have the money to spend this thing, or it's too expensive. But in my opinion, I think it's expensive not to do that. And then you're just stuck with your current friends.
Yeah. In my day, I would have paid, back 10 years ago or something, if someone said, you pay a few K or 5K or something and hang out with millionaires, at least you'll talk to one guy who's a multi-millionaire. I would have paid it in fucking 1 second. I didn't know, like most guys, people that make money, when you're in a circle of millionaires or anything, you'll start to see the things that are in common. You start to see the areas that actually have money in them, like those fields. A lot of guys, they're in fields where they're trying to progress, but there's just no money in that industry. You start to see the common occurrences, just where the revenue is. I know with you guys mastered fields by being in networks, and also value adding, but getting new ideas that you guys have excelled at. So I think that that's get exposed to big ideas and big concepts, and you see winners. What do winners do? Well, you get to be around them. You can sort of
emulate what they do, and then it starts to catch on, and you find your own steam.
I think we can give a good insight on this because not that long ago we were both working 9 to 5s back in Australia, earning like $3,000-4,000 a month, which is not much, like Australian. I'm not talking US. And at the time, you know, we were both considering, you know, joining an online community that was quite expensive. It was probably like it was 2 months' wage almost. And to us, like in that position, we were kind of like, damn, like that's crazy. Like that's so expensive. And we ended up just kind of taking the leap. And I don't know what drove us to take the leap, but we did it. And then after that, within the next 3 months, our life had just completely changed because of the people we got access to. So like if we had decided not to spend that money, you know, we were in a place where it was a lot of money for us. We decided, okay, we're going to do this. We did it, and it was probably like the best decision of our lives, I'd say, so far at least. And you know, in that moment when money's tight, it's hard because you're like, oh, I'm putting a lot of my like net worth, I'm putting my income on the line here. Like is this gonna be worth it? And then you do it, and you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? If we didn't do it, we'd still be working our 9 to 5s, making 3-4K a month in the exact same spot where we were. But we took the risk, and we worked our asses off after then. And because of the people we had access to, we skyrocketed, and our lives had never been the same. And then we met you guys, we met all our friends here. We can go to any city in the world, we have friends. We can, you know, need anything done, any connection, we've got someone for it now. And that's because we decided to take that leap. So like the power in online communities is just unreal because you get access immediately. Like you need skin in the game. Why should I take you seriously if you've come to me and you say, teach me. Yeah, teach me, like for free. Why would I teach you for free? Like you're not showing any value. You're not showing any skin in the game. The reason why those masterminds you were talking about, they're so expensive, is because it's a barrier to entry. That's all it is. They want people who are actually going to take it seriously. If I spend $10,000 on a mastermind, I'm going to take it seriously because that's a lot of money. I'm going to take it seriously.
And it puts a moat for the other people there, so they're not around fucking idiots. Because it detracts from the group's value. If it's cheap, well, you're going to get people that just, like you said, take the piss. People aren't taking it very serious. There's people there that probably shouldn't be there. People are kind of like, oh, it was $50, so I just came anyway. You know, it's not the same.
I think as well, you know, like to add on to Ethan's point there, it's you know, when because we were in a similar position, well, joining an online community, like I always, I guess, looked at like these online courses and online communities. I guess I was young and naive, but I always thought they were garbage. I was like, this is a scam. This is a scam.
A lot of them probably are though, right?
Look, like a lot of them don't have receipts like we do.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you look at it and I go, it's a scam. It's a waste of time. You know, they don't fucking know anything. And like when you take that leap, I guess, for us, when we joined it, it truly elevated our lives. Like we moved, I was still living with my parents, and then he's like, I'm moving overseas with some of these boys I met. 3 months after joining, I'd been in for 2 months, and I'm like, all right, I'll come. I just packed a bag, put my life in a suitcase, and was like, fuck it, I'm going. Moved over to Europe, did all that. Where you know, we get a call, we're like, we need $30,000 in cash. We're like, fuck. we just have these crazy experiences, and
shows you're serious though, right? When you do something.
It's
like
all
a
about
rerouting.
having that skin in the game, you know. Like
I know with us, we talked to a friend of ours in Dubai, Jules. We talked to him, and then I remember asking him, and I think you were there too. And we asked, which is the best city? Where's the best place to move? If you're going to move somewhere, like I just left Australia, you were much the same. Jonah was the same. I think he was a bit after you, but I think we said, where's the best place to stay? And he said, now that Ukraine's got the bit of turmoil at the time, which accelerated. But he said that, yeah, Warsaw was probably second best on his list if you weren't making money in Dubai. Like if you didn't have to live in Dubai to make money in Dubai. And you got to be making, to me, you got to be making Dubai money to live in Dubai. No, if you're in Dubai and you're on 40K a year, it's going to be tough. Like, you're going to be pretty invisible, rents are high, you know, it's going to be, you're not really going to be doing too much. You have to be making big boy money in Dubai. To me, I mean, by my standard, if you were to raise a family in Dubai, you're probably still a few $100K a year. To raise a family there, I think that would be pretty...
and that's still
yeah,
tight.
yeah,
Like,
that's normal.
Yeah.
Like, the normal, it's... Yeah, things are much accelerated there. But yeah, he said Warsaw, and then we moved to Warsaw. You know, it's... I think that it shows that you're serious too. I think it's... Like Mike said before, and I've listened to that, where he said that I don't give advice if I give advice and the person doesn't do it. Like, you know, if someone says... Asks him 10 minutes of his time, and he goes, all right, I suggest that you do this and this and this, and he does none of it. Doesn't even try it. And then he said straight up, he's like, oh, I'll never give him advice again because my time is valuable. And it is. I think it's the same with women to me. It's if you make these sort of suggestions or corrections on behaviour that you don't like, of course, it's not forceful. You just withdraw your attention, you'll leave. You know, it's much the same. You have to start seeing your time as valuable because it's a sunken cost as well. If you're like Mike, he's teaching someone something that they're not going to implement, and he's taking work away from his business where he makes good money.
Yeah, you know, like when people ask for advice and you know you give it freely and
Free advice,
because
never,
like especially like the people that you know are in our network and stuff like that, like we do like truly want the best for them. Like we're not going to give shitty advice, and we give it to them. They go yeah, and then they just don't do it. Or like I know Ethan and I, like we've given like girl advice to like some like plenty of guys, and then down the line they're still like you see a post on Instagram, and then
She's an old soul, man. I love her.
Yeah.
She's
amazing.
done, brother. She's gone. And then he's like, happy family.
Happy
with
Valentine's
the
Day.
Christmas pajamas.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Love of my life.
Got you
the
a
body
Range-
language is all off.
Got you a Range
She's like
Rover.
looking that way, and he's looking at her or some bullshit.
Got you a BMW. And she's going to pick up fucking the next guy in it while he's off on his next trip.
I think the reason why most men can't find other men that could actually go... What? Oh,
the
shit.
button undone.
Bro, he's getting too big.
Yeah, mate. You need to retail.
It's bulking, huh?
Hey.
We've got to go see Mr. Nazar.
too many,
Probably
too
seen
much
it in a few
liver, bro.
weeks. The living king.
I think
Legit.
one of the reasons why most men can't find other people or other men to go out and respect them is many of the times they take their girl's word over their brothers. Right? There's so many guys that want to say, oh, I want to go out and travel around the world. I want to make money with brothers. I want to go out and do cool things. But then they let the opinion of a girl kind of detract them. Right? And then you see that actually he cares more about what his girl thinks and what maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 brothers are actually logically saying, hey, actually, no, this isn't the right move. And then he goes from a strictly logical point of view and making decisions from logic. And instead, he just starts thinking from emotion. As you spend more time with people, if it's just a woman, you literally start becoming like each other. So one of the things that I'm just like very curious about, I don't know why, but if you were to have a crew and one of your guys was dating a girl and the girl's was more in his ear than like, say, for example, your boys, like how would you guys like kind of operate with that system? Because so many guys that I know, they have like brothers and like, yo,
realistic.
I have a brother, but for some reason he's like married and I don't talk to him much. Right, so it's like, just walk me through. Like, I don't know if you guys had any personal experience or anything like that, but
Just toss me the ball.
I mean,
Who's that?
How you like I'll take the first.
Cash me outside.
You can lead a horse to water, right? It's you can only do so much. Mike's had too many whiskeys.
Keep him calm. I miss this,
Mike.
Mike.
I need to get the Long Island in the house.
This is Party Mike.
I love it, bro. I haven't seen him since Paris.
MS.
first episode outed.
Strange.
Didn't make it an
He
episode
just
two.
drinks it on the rocks. Loves it.
But yeah, you can lead a horse to water. So you can only do so much for someone that doesn't want to be helped. I have friends back in Australia. Yeah, they'll ask me advice.
Cutting for my
They
fight.
see that I've done something You know, they see that I've done something, and now that, you know, life's going well, they go, oh, like, what happened? Like,
What's the shortcut?
Give me some advice. Yeah, like, they'll ask some advice of me. I'll give the advice, and then they'll never fucking do anything with it. Why would I ever help you again? You didn't do what I said. And then they come back a month later and they go, oh, yeah, this, you know,
in
like,
a worse
life's,
position.
Yeah, life's kind of going
Diffuse
shit.
this, Ethan.
Yeah,
Diffuse
they
it.
go, here's my situation. Like, it's worse or it's the same. I'm just stagnant. And they go, and I go, well, I fucking told you 1 month ago what to do and you didn't do it. Why should I sit here and waste my time on you? I've got a friend who's, we were very close, and he's back in Australia. He's about to turn 25 years old. He still lives with his parents. I told him, I said, brother, I said 3-4 months ago, I said, you need to move out of your parents' house. And he, oh, my parents, they get upset when I talk about moving out, and I don't know, like, yeah. And I said, bro, trust me, my growth once I moved out of my parents' house went crazy. Like, you move out of your parents' house. 6 months fucking goes by, and he goes, oh, like, life's, still the same. Like, I'm having these same troubles with girls. I'm like, brother, I told you 6 months ago, move out. You're in the exact same place because you didn't take action. The people who take action move the quickest, and that's why they project themselves so high, is because they take action. 99% of people don't take action. That's why they're the 99%. The 1% of people do take action. That's why they're the we have examples on both sides, because we have two friends. One who his girl basically disrespected him, and he didn't take action. One whose girl disrespected him, and he took immediate action. Our respect for the one who took immediate action went up. Our respect for the one who didn't take any action, down.
You can dox him.
Yeah, I think the same. Like, I think if you see a guy and his woman, he's scared to lose his woman, to me, that's just a guy that you can't really trust, because, like, he's in massive scarcity and fear. Like, if he's scared to lose a girl, like, in some cases, they're scared to lose a girl that doesn't even treat him good. And it's like you pick that over your brothers, like you'll pick this girl that treats you pretty much like garbage over your friends. And it's much the same shit though. Like, a lot of times though, you find guys like that, like, their integrity sucks too. Like, when you bring them closer to you, you realize, like, they've got a massive amount of flaws. Like, they're trying to hit on your girls at some point, and they're doing just weird shit. I think, yeah, guys, if they want to be part of a crew in general, you have to be around circles of guys to learn how to act. Because it doesn't just happen. No. Like, guys think that they just come out of the basement, even if they've made millions of dollars online, maybe in crypto, maybe they've run an online business or something, and they're just going to pick it up. They're just going to put the nice clothes on it. I'm just going to get all these nice clothes and all this shit, and suddenly everyone's just going to notice me. And that's just not really the case. Nice stuff only gets you, like, it's like you walk into the club and you've got the spotlight on you for like 5 seconds. But if people look at you and they're like, who's this fucking loser? Like, it's actually a detriment now, because people look and they're like, he's got nice shit, but, like, he's still a fuck up. When someone walks in and they're just like an average guy, and you can tell, and they act average, they know who they are. They're going to have more success than the other guy. The only people that are going to like the other guy are people that just want to get money off that guy. Girls will like him just to get money off him. Girls will go on dates with him just to go to, like, Nobu and nice restaurants and in a nice car, but then they'll ghost him. I know a lot of guys, because I ran a crypto fund, guys that have made millions in crypto, and they'd have, like, the Ferrari and things like that with women, and they'd take girls out from Tinder in a Lambo, in a Ferrari, take them down on a date, take them to the nicest restaurant, and they couldn't even get a kiss at the end. Like, the girl would get the photo, like all the photos, like, with the headrest, all the bullshit, photo at the place, leave him out of it, and then he'd be like, oh, I didn't really have the opportunity to go for the kiss. And it's like you're spending all this money to get the results below what a guy would get if he slept on the floor. Like, I remember sleeping on the floor when I was like 10 years ago. I got out of the army and I was sleeping on the floor, and I would still be with girls that were not like 10 out of 10s, but like 6s or so, that were still like messaging me all the time and, like, giving me attention. And I was sleeping on a floor. I didn't have anything.
So I used to drive a Toyota RAV4 back when we were in Australia. Oh, 2007 Toyota RAV4, not a nice one.
Pay your dues.
Yeah, no, not a nice one. And it was actually my mum's old car, so I got lucky because she bought a new one, and I sort of took that one. The back seat of that RAV4 saw more action.
It's in the museum?
Yeah. It saw more action than most dudes will see in their entire life. And that is insane to me.
Create a clone army.
Yeah,
off the back seat.
So it had a RAV4 as like a four-wheel drive.
Start going with a blue light.
And the back seats would fold down, so it would create a kind of thing. And I had a blanket in there because I live with my mum, and my mum's room is right next to mine. There's no getting in. There was no action going on in that room. Okay, unless I was home alone. The back seat of that fucking RAV4 saw so much action. More action than most dudes will see in their entire lives. And it still blows my mind that, you know, these...
See millionaires.
Yeah, you see absolute
everything
guys,
dressed to the
guys
nines.
with...
In shape even
exactly.
sometimes.
Millions and millions, but they just don't know what to do. And it's something you can learn, which is the funniest thing. Just find someone who has the receipts and learn from them.
I think frame is the biggest thing. I think guys can, you know, it's... Maybe they're not the fittest guy, maybe they're not the richest guy, maybe they're only average in that regard. But if they have a solid frame, at least they can hold together a pretty good relationship, or they can hold together like a good friendship. Because you have to have a frame with friends, right? Like, you know, it's like we don't run around and joke about each other in public, or like, you know, act like children. Some guys you'll see like pretty much hanging off each other or play fighting, or like they've got a table full of girls somehow. Let's imagine that they do. I mean, they probably don't. But even if they're around girls or they're around their friend's girl, they'll start putting their friend down in front of that girl and be like, you know, I've been at tables before. I've been around guys when I was younger where they did that. You know, they started like detracting from the guy's value and making him look bad, you know, like, or bringing up something that happened that was embarrassing in the past in front of the guy and his girl. And then he thinks that, like, you know, it's cool or funny, but it actually just detracts from everything now. Like, it's lowered the value of everyone. It's not just the guy himself that looks like his partner or the girl that he was with that thinks this guy's an idiot. She actually thinks like the whole table are now idiots. And then everyone else, because that's what I think. I think if I go up to a table and there's like one guy that's fucking like a loser or acting like a fucking child, I just assume that the whole group of children and they're just like got a like stone face on, they're covering it better. Because why are they allowing that? Like, if that's like... It's like you're the father, and why you like see your son act like a goofball and you don't correct that. Now I see like the TikTok generation, people just think that it's like, it's cool to just be like a goofball in public. And there's a time and a place, you know, when we're alone and, you know, you make jokes and things like that, and that's fine. People make jokes, maybe they insult each other a bit, like friendly banter is fine. But in public, you gain no value and there's nothing in it by like self-deprecating or deprecating on your brothers, you know, like, saying dumb jokes, like it's not funny and it's not impressive. So if you want to keep a crew, to me, you can't do that.
I generally see that happening, especially when we go out, right? Like every single time we go out, we go to events, we go ahead and do mastermind dinners, we go ahead and network with other people that make a bunch of money or other things. Is one thing that you'll notice if anyone ever like watching this, like sees us in action, is when we're around other people, we always talk each other up. Like we always talk each other up. I'll go ahead and take the attention, but then I'll throw it off on you guys. You guys take the attention and then you'll throw it up onto other guys. And I think that's what most people don't end up doing. It's like most people that end up ever getting any attention, they're not used to it. So they just want to go ahead and hoard all of the attention because they're afraid that they're never going to have an opportunity.
Do you think it's insecurity?
Yeah, I think it's because they just never have an opportunity for that attention. One thing that you see like with us, it's like whenever someone gives any one of us attention, we bring it and we throw it on somebody else because people start seeing the value, not necessarily just like in one person, but kind of like a network effect of just really cool people coming in.
And then they see, it's like the halo effect to a degree where they see it and they're like, actually, it spreads to the whole group.
It's like the cheerleader effect for men.
It does, but I think that there's very little to lose with that sort of option, like that sort of mindset. And I think that, it creates security in all of your brothers, and then it's just like it's a vicious cycle to the upside instead of a cascade where everyone just fights for like a sliver on the table. You know, like one girl comes to the table and everyone's in a fucking Royal Rumble to try and get her attention. You know, it's the case of abundance, right? Like, you know, it's much the same.
Inverse,
yeah,
right?
it's like, but then the same. Like, it's not all about girls. Like, we can all go out anywhere, just us. and still hang out and have fun and talk or whatever. It's not always about girls, but you have to have that respect, I think.
I think I actually enjoy those equally to, or to be honest, more. Just our dinners where we might bring just one girl, just as a nice feminine touch. But we sit them on the edges of the table, and then we just sit there and we just chat. Exchange news about what we've been up to, how's business been going, laughs, etc. That's that really is like the crew isn't like having a crew. It's not just
an
solely
orgy.
it's not solely about just having like heaps of girls, or it's not solely like a business or transactional exchange, right? It's that broader camaraderie where you all come together and you enjoy each other's presence and that like that shared brotherhood. I truly believe that.
We have some of the funniest times together. That's like,
Yeah.
it's a big part of it. Like you can treat a network as serious as you want, but when you actually build a crew of like, we're friends. We're not like business connections. We're not.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
I think that happens in some groups, and Mike would have probably seen it, where they're just networking, and it's just networking. They've got their game face on. It's this business. Like, what can I get? What can I give? But it's only on a business setting, and then it's the strictly finance.
And you
It's
only
not
get
really
to that.
nice.
You only get to that stage by actually being. You only get to our stage by actually being friends with each other.
Yeah, and being a friend.
Yeah,
giving.
exactly. And we, friends give value. We have each other's back. I know if I threw a punch, none of you would sit there and go, "Oh, what's going on?"
I was in the bathroom.
Yeah, you're all running in, and
I was taking a piss. Sorry, I didn't see shit.
You're not doing one.
I was back at the table drinking the rest of the
Yeah.
beer with all the girls.
Like, you're not asking questions. You're just jumping in. That it's like true brotherhood, and that's something that I think every man actually needs, because it's like we've done it by ourselves. We've done it in the.
It wasn't
brotherhood.
forced. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, you all together now, you have to be best friends. And I think it's the same with Ethan said. We all trust each other. We don't. I think we've been out together, I don't know, maybe like dozens of times. Never been in a fight. So I think we know that if something happened, it must be serious. So it's just throwing. It doesn't matter. Like, you know that you trust the guy. It's not, you're not out with someone who just like beats people up or starts fights or
Then
or just
again,
starts throwing people around or something.
We give off that, like, we're so glued together, and we give that off in public.
Yeah.
That all we've ever
Just
got,
a deterrent.
all we've ever got from other men is them wanting to know who we are
Yeah.
and wanting involvement with the group. We've never actually had anyone come up and like try to start a fight or anything.
I think it's because we're respect takers, but respect givers.
Yeah.
Like, we're out, we give respect to all the staff, give respect to the other guys. We don't just, unless someone's disrespectful to us, disrespectful to the women, unless they're disrespectful first. But it's always, it starts from at least like a positive place. You know what I mean? It doesn't start from like, I think you see some guys online and they come in from an angry place, like they're with women and they just, like, I think it's insecurity, but they'll treat the women bad. Like, they'll treat women bad because they've had bad experiences now. Like, they've had a bunch of bad experiences with women. So when they sort of like become someone of value, it radiates out, and they now have to like punish the women around them or like treat them bad, and that's a like pretty negative environment.
Most of the time, they're just dorks with money. They think it's cool because the woman, she can't throw a punch.
Yeah, that's true.
They
would never talk like that to a man, yeah.
You'd never see him give that disrespect to
A man.
a capable man who can just smack him with a hook.
And they think that it will like be a laugh to us, and we'll like we'll respect him and go, "Oh, that was hilarious, bro!" Like,
it's the
you
wrong
totally
way.
clown
It
that
goes
chick.
backwards,
but
yeah.
it goes so backwards. Like, if we treat all women we come into contact with respect, and if we saw someone do something disrespectful to a woman, especially in our presence, or especially to women that we've invited around or something like that, that's just so not on, and it does the opposite with us. We'll never hang out with you again, because we know now you do this, you make us look bad. That is not how to do it. Treat the women with respect, and enjoy yourself. But
It's like being someone, treating the guy who's like some like smaller guy, and the massive guy's like just bullies him straight away, and you could tell like you would never do that to someone your own size.
Yeah.
So it's a big, I think it's a big drag, and it's also a drag on the night, right? Like, if you're out with people and they're real negative, like we go out, we get tables, we go out, get champagne shows, we spend a lot of money. We don't go out to like have a shit night
And if someone's fighting and being hostile and scaring people and things like that, it does, distracts from the night. Like if, someone's doing something crazy, beating up security or something, it's going to detract from the night, right? And give you a bad reputation.
I think most of these men that go out to clubs with like for example, boys, I think they value like the random woman more so than like the brotherhood of themselves. I can't tell you so many times how, there's some guy that I want to go ahead and network with, maybe build businesses together, maybe go ahead and do cool things. And I remember like saying, I was like talking to like say some random girl, and he would just come in and just like start talking to her just because he valued this random girl more so than like the relationship that we could have built. I don't know why there's so many guys, even like people with money, you just put one pretty girl in front of them and they just throw away any brotherhood.
But do you see that as the ultimate, like, it's the ultimate turn off for guys, like you're seeing that and you'd be like, I couldn't consider that a friend. I couldn't do business with someone like that because they're, it's disrespectful, but it's also like that pee wet syndrome.
Yeah,
like that's the biggest thing that they want in the world is to, and that's to me, it's a scarcity thing. If you have abundance, you wouldn't really act like that. Exactly. So it's a concern that maybe at a later point, that could be bigger problems. I think that's part of why our crew's so good. Like the crew that we have, we're all experts in many fields, but we're also like, we're respectful of each other and what we bring, and we don't really, like shit on each other like that. To me, that's just not on.
Same
I've
way
never
how
had that happen to me, like from anyone here.
Same way how like girls, there's red flag for girls. I think there's red flag for guys that you would want to accept into your circle. Like one of them is they want the woman's attention and validation more so than like building a brotherhood. Another one is if we go out to dinner and I pay twice and the third time you ask to split the bill, like there's some type of weird things. Like I was on a dinner with a Dutch guy, right?
Oh,
want to go ahead and build a business. I literally want to go ahead. I was like, okay, this guy's cool. We have like similar networks.
Dutch
We go ahead and build business. First time, paid the bill. Second time, paid the bill. Third time, I was like, let me go ahead and test him. Right? The waitress comes. I was like, he comes and drops the bill, and I just look at him, and he's like, oh, can we split the bill?
Can't build a partnership.
At that moment, cut. I stopped talking to him, man, because I don't know, like so many people, even like as something as simple as like the bill and the etiquette of handling the bill.
I've seen some people, like Dutch people in general. I'm not saying all, because I know a few that are very giving, but I've seen some where they take pride in being cheap. Like it's part of it. Like what sort of deal can I get? Can I get more out of it? That's what I've seen.
This is something we got good sort of insight on as well, because when we used to go out for like, if we went with group dinners with our like high school group, like we were cheap.
We're brokies.
Yeah, we were
when
broke.
you're broke.
We were broke. We didn't have much money. So, we'd split it all the way. And, you'd be splitting like $20 between like 8 people, and you'd be asking for like
seriously.
You'd be asking for like bank transfers.
The waitress
stuff
is like,
that.
what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. And this is not a joke. This is what used to happen when we had no money. And now we realize that the value of stuff like that, like paying for dinner and stuff like that. Like we have competitions with our friends that we go out for now to who can pay the bill like quickest. Yeah. We've had guys pay the bill before we've even like ordered.
It's happened to me.
Stuff
before.
like that, and it's like that's the competition now, and it's you get respect from that. You
like to be the big man that pays. Everyone likes to, right? Like you like to think that at least you could. I think it's harder when you're a bit younger, but when you're older, you get to my age, you want to be at a position where you can be the big man that pays all the time if you want. Yeah. It's part of like...
You love to get the bill. You love to get the bill.
I'm a fucking nearly twice your age. When you're my age, you'll be getting everything.
He loved it. And like that's the really generous, like good thing about you.
It's like the dawn.
Is you're super generous, right? And you're happy to give, and you're happy to give all this value, to and it's something super like admirable. But like I remember we were in Marbella, and you get lunch, which would have been like $1,000, and then you get dinner the same day, which would have been $1,000, and then we went out for dinner a few nights later, and I was like, you went to the bathroom, I'm like, I'm going. And I went up, whilst I was in the bathroom, I'm like, give me the bill. And she's like, I'll bring it over. I'm like, no, don't fucking bring it over. Bring it right here.
Then Ethan gets
don't let Steven get it. We're getting it.
I respect that. I know that it's not easy. I remember when I was your age, I couldn't have fixed $1,000 bills. I just wouldn't have been able to pay it. But that would have been like 2 weeks' pay. So I know that when you're younger too, it's harder. I think that everyone wants to be. I'm nearly 40 now. I'm 37. I think everyone thinks that when they're that age, they want to be the big man that pays the bill. It's just the way that it goes. I think a lot of families or traditions as well, it's usually the older guy. I never wanted to be the guy that's older and like, the bill comes and you're like, hiding away or like, you know, pretending that you didn't see it or whatever. I think it's like fatherhood, right? Like, you know, when you're older, you want to be able to do shit. You want to be able to pay the bills.
I think paying the bills is also an investment in the people that are you're getting dinner with. Like I remember in Thailand or in Asia, I was surrounded by people that had more money than me, like way more money than me. I was just kind of like getting up and started, and I just knew that if in my mind this was like the logic, if I could pay the bill, then these guys that have millions of dollars would know that I'm someone that is giving and not trying to just take. So it's almost kind of like a pre-frame in our further relationship because none of these guys knew who I was.
And they know it hurts you because they're aware of the price, right?
Like
you got money, you're aware what shit costs.
I wasn't making that much money, but the fact that I actually grabbed the bill, and we're talking about like dinner tables of like 10, 15, 20 people.
1 or 2K every time.
I grabbed the bill. It was even on a debit card, so I was like, oh, hopefully this clears. And
his last buck.
The amount of respect that compounded through time just from those initial like dinner tables turned into hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars, right? Yeah. Like so many guys think of that specific moment of, oh, I'm going to spend $500 or $1,000.
Do you think you notice the more you have? Like, you know, when you're that guy who doesn't really have a lot of money, you don't really know. I remember being younger and I didn't really notice, like, if older guys paid the bill or whatever. It's sort of like, you take it with it. It's like, oh, yeah, they sorted the bill. I don't really know exactly what it costs. You're not really aware of what costs are. But you're like, that was $1,000 bill. It's in your mind. You're like, that was a grand. You know, it's
one of the things that I notice very frequently when I go ahead and spend money on people, right? It's not necessarily like in our crew, but like just people out there that's kind of like away from our culture is to know very, very abruptly when people start becoming entitled about you paying the bill.
Yeah.
Right? Where it turns into an expectation. Where they're like, oh, you know, Mike's just going to go ahead and pay the bill. Or, oh, Ethan's just going to pay the bill. Or, oh, Jonah's going to pay the bill.
When you have a girl, do you like to be thanked when you pay the bill?
Yeah. Like there's something about the gratitude of people that shows
it's
like
hard,
some type
right?
of class.
Like the more time goes by too, it sort of like becomes expected. I don't know how, sometimes it can be hard to set that sort of frame where it's not just, obviously you're going to sort the bill. I mean, if the bill's like expensive, if you invite someone to a nice restaurant and obviously they can't pay it and that's fine. But at what point do you still need that like reciprocated, like thank you? I think that's great. I think if you've got a girl, even if you've had her for months or 6 months or 12 months or years, and she's still like, you know, thanks for sorting dinner, or like I really appreciate that, or like thanks for that. And I think that can be the first to go because like they're around you more and they start to realize like that doesn't hurt you at all. And you pay a $500 bill, it's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I love a girl who's grateful for stuff like that. Even
like,
if
if it's a small thing.
Yeah, we go for
a
dinner
burger
at
or
some
something.
fucking Italian place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ethan. Wow, I will make you wash now.
Exactly.
You're strong, man.
So it's like so sweet. Like you spend fucking $50 on a dinner, and they're like, "Thank you so much for taking me to dinner." It's like, oh,
But it's a respect thing.
my
right?
darling, you're so sweet. I'll take you to dinner.
And then you have the girl that just for some reason every single time the bill like just happens, she just disappears into the bathroom.
No.
And for some reason just like comes at the right time when, for example, the bill is
like
paid.
I will always cover the bill on
Yeah.
when I'm going out with a girl. I invited you there.
Yeah,
I
I'm
picked the
always-
restaurant.
If I invite,
how it
I
should
will
be.
always expect to cover.
Yeah.
If I don't invite, I don't care if I cover, but I don't really expect to. It's
Yeah.
much like that.
But the entitlement is like the most it's the most unattractive thing in just not even women but men and women, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like if someone
With men,
came in,
it's
it's even
more
worse.
Yeah.
Because here's this person
It's kind of
that
like,
we're paying for, and in his mind he just thinks, oh, I don't have to do anything. Like there's so many times that people would just get entitled for your attention, your time, your energy, and they're expecting things from you. And then the moment you go ahead and pull back because they're not reciprocating the value, there's no equity split between the energy that's being provided, they get a little bit defensive, like, whoa, man, why don't you want to do X, Y, and Z? Well, it's because what value are you actually going and providing for me and my people?
at what age, like when did you start to notice your own value? Because for me, I used to do so much for friends of mine, like many years ago, and then I would look back and be like, actually, I did too much to a degree. And now I obviously have reeled it in, but I wasn't aware of the value exchange. I think it's a learned thing. You start to realize, like, actually, I'm giving so much more than I'm getting back. At what age or when did you sort of start to notice that your time was probably more valuable than you were getting back?
I think this is just something that even right now I'm still figuring out. It's more so kind of like a little like thumb on the pulse of, okay, I'm going to give the people around me this much time, this much money, this much energy. I'm constantly going to give.
How do you go with energy too? Because you're a very high energy.
Yep.
You just turn it on.
I just want to give, man. Like I generally want the people around me to go out and succeed and do really, really well, right? So I give. And there's certain people that take that for granted and they'll go ahead and go down a route where it's like, I remember I was giving this person so much, like just to help him build his business, right? And I remember paying for all of these things to help him launch his thing. And then one of the guys was asking the question on what he was going to do this weekend. And he was like, oh yeah, we're going to go to X, Y, and Z place and build X, Y, and Z thing. And not once did he mention that I actually dropped money for everything and I'm supporting him and all those things. And in that mind, I was like, okay, that's a little bit just disrespectful, because like you have people that just want to take as much credit as possible, which shows you that maybe they're still like in that scarcity mindset.
Yeah, that's very true. I've had people that I've pretty much made, or people that I've put on and given a platform, or given something where they've grown into be a massive success, and then they don't really mention you, they don't really acknowledge that you were the one that sort of started them out. And I'm not the sort of guy that runs around and be like, you know, I gave this guy the money that sort of started his business, or gave him like the contacts that made him successful. I don't say that. But so it's much like you, I sort of give, and then wait. And then if they don't do shit back for me, I'm just like, this is fucking like pointless, you know, like I'm getting nothing back. It's like women. Like, you know, with guys like us, time's valuable. So you're giving like equity up front. If you go to a dinner date, like there's a mismatch. I mean, an hour of her time and an hour of my time, they're not worth the same. So there's a mismatch. I'm giving equity up front. And now I'm just like, well, she's either going to act the way that I like, or like we're probably just not going to see each other again. Yeah. I'm not going to like yell at her and abuse her or anything. I'm just going to be like, you know, it was good, but I don't want to continue.
We have so much abundance with that, like staying on the woman topic. We have so much abundance with that here that when you we have abundance in general, not just here. But when you go on a date here and then you sit down with a girl and she's just not the type of girl that you click with. She's not the type of girl that you want for a longer term thing. In my head, it just kind of switch goes off. Like, I'm not going to go invest 2, 3, 4 more dates into you and to try and sleep with you if I know that we're just not going to get along. It's not worth my time.
There's no connection
more.
or
No,
like
I have enough. I've got enough. Like,
is
I'm
that
good.
connection important
Yeah.
to you? With like,
Well,
you need to be on the same.
Yeah, it really is, because I like a very specific type of girl. I don't like.
What sort of girl? What's this
What
sort
type
of
of girl
girl
do you
you
like,
like,
bro? What's like your specific type?
Yeah, what's the type of girl?
Whoa.
I know look.
We're not talking looks. Let's talk personality.
Okay.
Let's talk personality. So, you want like a kind, loving girl who gives you a feminine energy, helps you in that way, gives you that sort of drive, and is very grateful for everything you do for her. And I'm happy to give my time to her if she's willing to give me that energy back and show that she truly loves me and show that she truly cares about me and does goes the extra mile to do stuff for me, is loyal off the bat, does stuff to show me that. That's what I value. If I go on a date with a girl, and it's happened multiple times here, blue ticks are the worst. But you go on a date with a girl and you sit there and she goes, yeah, last time I was in Mykonos and then I was in Ibiza.
Trying to prove
and
their
then
value
I was
from
in Monaco and
guys they
it was
fuck.
really cool in Monaco. And
They talk with that too,
sun
with
was
their
out.
hands like that.
Yeah, like that.
They took the
And
night course.
I was sat there like, oh, nice. Yeah, I heard Mykonos is nice. Yeah.
In your head is just, who paid for that?
Yeah, in my head now, she won't appreciate that as much. If
it's
that
just
ever happens
poison,
in the future, if I ever take her to those places, she'll be like, yeah, well, I've been here before. I stayed in the Ritz. Like, what? This is bullshit. Like, I've been here before. I don't care.
Well, it's like a drug, right? So it's like when someone's been fucking smashing heroin for an entire season before you meet them, they come off and they're stuck in I guess some gloomy old city, and they go, wow, here's a guy who can get me my next hit. It's just incredibly toxic. It's a little bit
I
disgusting.
think that's the same.
But
It's
like,
like, yeah, you've been on heroin and then you're suddenly like, this guy's like, here's a coffee. It's like, yeah, he wants to take me to like the museum here. He's going to spend 10 zloty. I just got spent 10k and flown out to here to be fucked by this fucking like.
yeah.
Well,
desperate guy.
that's also those weak millionaire guys coming back to like,
Yeah.
they're kind of ruining
The
it.
money race.
Yeah. So the smart girls wouldn't accept something like that until they've actually know a man and they're with a man for a while, and then they go on holidays
It's
together.
like
Sure,
the
that's
heroin thing, like getting offered something
That's
so
fine, yeah.
refined, and they're like, I might try it. And then once they try it, they're like, I put the photos online. I'm flexing. I'm an entrepreneur, businesswoman. I'm in Mykonos. I'm in Dubai. I'm in fucking Ibiza.
like it's all over.
And then now the clout and all that sort of stuff reigns.
Well,
and it's hard to reel in for them.
We truly care about being the ones that show a girl a new experience. Like, if I take a girl who's never been overseas, she's been in a town her whole life working and whatnot, studying. My ability to show this girl the world is something that's actually precious to me. And it's something that, I show all these places. Like, I've worked hard, I've earned the money. Now I can show you these nice places. I can take you to Greece. I can take you to Dubai and we can enjoy it together. Like, that's something we care about. And they're going to appreciate that much more because they're going to look around and go, wow, this is amazing. Like,
and do you find sometimes it's almost like you're living it through their eyes? Like, you've done all this shit. Like, we've done it all. We've done that. But when you see like a girl and like, she's like, oh, can you believe like I'm on a yacht? Like, I've never been out here before. I talked to one of the guys and he's from Slovakia and he went out on a yacht for the first time. Martin. Yeah. Successfully, he makes good money, but he said it's the first time he's ever been on one. And just see like his face when he's like looking over and he's like, we're going really far out. And it's like, it kind of like almost like replenishes it where you're like, actually, I remember the first time I like did something like that.
You relive it because
it's like seeing it, through.
We drive supercars all the time. We're in all these nice.
When a chick's like, oh, whoa!
You put her in the passenger seat for the first time in her first ever supercar, and you hit that accelerator, and her face lights up and goes, oh! It's like, oh, that's so like heartwarming. Yeah. It's beautiful.
I agree. Yeah, it's very good. It's very much exactly the same as what I agree. It's like we're kind of like on a diet of sugar because we can do everything that we want. We can only do like the very refined things that we want. We don't have to do anything we don't want. So when we see someone else that's doing something like that for the first time, sometimes like take a girl to a nice restaurant where she's like, oh, like I haven't been to a place like this before. It's like,
see, that is awesome. When you take a girl to a nice
restaurant. Or she's like, I haven't seen like cocktails like this before.
Expensive. Like, I've never been to a place like this.
Or she's like, I need to order like the very cheapest thing on the menu. When you notice, like she's like looking and then she'll be like, you're in like a 5-star like restaurant. She'll be like, I'll just get like the burger. And it's like the cheapest thing on the menu. You're like, you get whatever you want. Yeah. But instead of the girl who's like, I'll just get the lobster.
There's something about like innocence that just makes a man want to go out and do whatever for a girl, right? Like if a girl is genuinely innocent and kind and sweet and she doesn't want to spend time going to the club or the bar or getting drunk without you, like there's this thing where it's like, okay, girl, if you go ahead and just give that up, going out to with friends that aren't going anywhere in life, and you just instead just continue being sweet and innocent, the amount of doors that could open up just because, I would want to go ahead and like provide. Like we have this friend, right, where he was like dating this girl or was dating this girl where she was just very kind and gentle and sweet. And he was just like, man, I just want to buy her a house. Like it's like the I want to buy you a house energy where like the girl's like very innocent and sweet. And I think it's just so different because it's like now most women, like I was in Bali for a long period of time and I met a lot of women in their 40s and 50s that were sold the pill of, chase a career. And they chose a career. They were making 6 figures and 7 figures, and yet they're crying in the mountains in Malaga, like wondering, why can't I find a man? Because they were just chasing so much of a career. And it's like at that point, like no man wants to go ahead and compete with a woman on the experiences that they've had or the stripes on their belt or the trauma that they've been through. Like most men generally want to go ahead and take someone that's very innocent and live life through her eyes almost like a second time, because kind of if we were just going to go ahead and do it, right, we would just get jaded. Like there's only so much things that we could buy, so much experiences that we could go ahead and do.
Yeah, I've had the same. I was sitting in Dubai. First time I got to Dubai, it'd be a while ago. I just left Australia, probably over a year ago now. And I got to Dubai and I'm like, yeah, this is it for me. Like this is before I met you. I'm like, I was sitting by the pool. I remember I sat there for like 5 weeks. Like every day.
Salad every day.
Every day. Oh, no, it must have been not long, but before I met Mike. I'm eating like fruit. I'm sitting by the pool. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. This is Dubai. This is like where everyone dreams to retire. Might get a place here. And this is it for me. This is a wrap. I've retired. I've got retirement money. And then after a while, I sat on the pool and I'd just been sitting there for weeks. And I'm like, this isn't that good. Like, this isn't what I thought. Like, I've still got too much energy and still got a lot to give than to just be like, this is a wrap. Like, it's the sitting by the beach drinking cocktails. I think that's bullshit. A guy pretty much needs to work pretty much till he dies because you just need to keep like doing stuff, giving back. When you don't, I think like the woman who's the lonely woman or whatever, I think too much time to yourself and too much time with just your mind. And when you have money, it can be very like hedonistic, where you just focus on pleasure or get depressed. You know, you still have to keep sharp and keep doing things and keep giving back and keep providing value. Otherwise, yeah, like what's life really about? We're not really made to just stop. I don't think as men, like a man to me is only a man that has utility. If he is a man and in the group he doesn't have a single utility at all, you can't really be a man to me. Like you just like a kid. Like kids are just there, you know. They can't really provide much. But
Well, I know we've spoken a lot about it, but like I know definitely we all agree on this point is men need purpose in life. You know, whatever that purpose may be. For many of us, it's raising a family, supporting a wife, right? And that's truly like, I believe, like the best cause for a man. Like, obviously you can deviate slightly from that. You know, if you want to make lots of money, you want to build an incredible business, you want to, you know, do types of charity work, whatever. You can do any type of cause, but men ultimately are they're most happy when they really dive in deep and they really commit themselves to a cause that truly betters themselves longer term, not just you know, supplying the fruits and spoils of their labor in the short term. It's the stuff that provides meaningful and long term emotional, physical, and you know, spiritual happiness longer term. You know, most men go down that route and they raise a family, and that's truly that's what I'm going to do. That's probably what most of us here are going to do. But, you know, in order to get there and in order to get to the levels that we all want to do, it's a lot harder now, especially just with the way that the current Western machine is built. It's hard to break out of that cycle and that fucking...
that's why frame money.
You know, yeah, exactly.
Network,
I think the main important thing is just network. And once you get the network, you can then decide, all right, well, my money's okay. I need to spec more into my fitness. Or
if we brought another guy
this,
here,
right?
and he didn't have his shit together, we brought another guy here. He's got some parts together and some aren't missing. He's going to absorb. Even if he just sits there as a witness,
exactly.
He's going to absorb the parts of this. Because sitting through the camera and through a podcast, they can absorb parts.
Yeah.
But it's the energy that you absorb when you're like in real life, right? Like, you know, you see it online and they probably think like, you know, there's some tricks, there's some like smoke and mirrors, they pause or like, you know, they're just acting. But when you're around someone like that for a whole night or a day or a few days, you can't like put it on anymore.
No, agreed.
When you guys popping out kids?
I've already got one.
But your ladies are like 20-ish?
I was already old before I had one. I was 34.
I'm 22, he's 21. So
You guys gonna pop them out soon?
we're pretty... No, we probably
Still got
got
a
a bit
few
to
years
go.
to go.
Yeah, we got a bit to go.
25
So
at
I
least.
think financial stability, like for the rest of your life, is something that's important before you even have kids. Like, I personally don't want to put my kids through a public school system or anything like that. So that means we need to have the money to have our own sort of
Village.
education. Yeah, exactly. We're doing it. We need to have our, you know, and what I imagine is that all our kids will be friends. All the wives will be, you know, in somewhere cooking together.
Community.
With the
Yeah,
Louis
in a little
bags.
community. Yeah, enjoy
Range Rover.
Walking the dogs.
Then they can split a Range Rover.
Yeah. all our kids
We
will
don't
be
need
playing
four.
football together and, you know,
Yeah.
tackling each other in the grass and all that.
Well, that starts the next generation.
That's the crew too.
the baby crew.
Season 2.
No, yeah, I think it's much the same. I think that, yeah, with guys, it's harder now to have kids than it was before. I think a lot of guys have kids without a plan. You need a plan. You can't just like, once you have kids, it's game on. You can't be like having kids and be like, oh, I don't have my shit together now. I just need to figure it out. It's because the kid's constantly observing and they're like, this is the way I'm going to be. You know how my dad is, if it's a son. I think you can only have kids with a woman if you're like, I would be very happy if my daughter turned out exactly like that woman, because it really doesn't matter what, like the dad, it's good the dad's there, he supports her emotionally, things like that, but ultimately the kids are going to just turn out like their parents, not like their parents say, not like, you know, the dad's on the couch being a slob and he's telling the kid to do all these like fitness and stuff that they just see, it's like monkey see, monkey do. Yeah. It's like anything, like, you know, you can jump on a podcast and you can say all these things, but until people come here and absorb the energy and see it for real and be like, actually, like, you know, it's contagious, right? Like success is contagious and so is failure.